The opinions expressed in the following paid program do not necessarily represent those of WJZ AM 1300, CBS Radio, its employees and sponsors. A maven, an expert, an authority, a connoisseur, a specialist, a professional, a knowledge king, a rock and roll sports talker. Coons Ford of Security Boulevard is proud to present the Sports Maven with Bruce Posner, a no-holds-barred look at the sports world. Now, here's Bruce Posner, the Sports Maven.
Good morning, everybody. Jeremy Contone in for Bruce Posner. We got to flip Wayne's mic on over here. We got Wayne. Wayne, you there?
I'm here. I hope I'm here.
All right. Kind of hear you. There we go.
Well, we'll get going with this. Bruce away from the studio this morning, just celebrating the NFL draft today. It's a great day to be a Terp. It's a great day to be a Raven. And, boy, if you're a sports fan, this is a fantastic time of the year. But, of course, we got to start with the Ravens draft. Jeremy, you follow this stuff day in and day out. Give me your take on who the Ravens picked, and did they fill the needs?
See, I think a lot of people get upset over, needs as much as value, and I think the Ravens had a couple value picks. The one glaring need that they got was free safety Terrence Brooks out of Florida State. If you're watching, they had 4 picks in the first 2 days. They didn't trade back at all, which typically the Ravens would and accumulate some more picks. But Terrence Brooks was the second fastest safety in the draft, a playmaker, a guy that can play nickel. So if you're in a pinch, you're in a bind, and you want to have him cover somebody, he's very capable of doing that. I thought that was a nice value pick and probably the best free safety left on the board after 2 went in the first round. They get him in the third round, and in the second round, a value pick, Timmy Jernigan. If you watch the national championship, you would have seen him on the sideline huffing and puffing. But that just, in my opinion, that just shows how hard he was working. He had an unbelievable third quarter in that game. He was all over the field. So they get 2 national champs, 2 kids out of Florida State. Everybody, I think for the most part, you see C.J. Mosley. You like to think Ray Lewis. We'll find out what he ends up being. But that was their first round pick out of Alabama. You get yourself a surefire tackler. And they said if they were picking at 10, he would have still been their pick. A lot of people were wondering, hey, would they have gone offensive line, wide receiver, whatever?
That's my question about this draft is Ray Rice, not the biggest ground gainer. You try Pierce, it wasn't any better. You start going to the blocking, it's the offensive line. What do you think the team is? That someplace the team's going to look? The Aussie's going to make some picks there and try and improve the run game now?
I think so. I asked, or I had a friend ask me last night. We were texting back and forth, and he's like, "Oh my God, what are they doing? They haven't drafted an offensive lineman. This is so crazy. I can't believe it." And the thing I tried to point across is you feel pretty good about left tackle, right? I mean, you're fine where you're at. Across the board, if you look at the National Football League, you don't have too many teams with first and second round picks across the offensive line. A lot of your interior linemen, including your right tackle, are guys that are drafted after the third round. So just because the board tells you that this guy's the best, maybe it doesn't fit your scheme. Maybe there's something else you like about one of these other guys from a smaller school. For years, I used to talk about the New England Patriots outside of Matt Light, and I think he was a second round pick. He may have been a first round pick. Their offensive line was scattered with third, fourth, seventh, undrafted. Mm-hmm. It's just about finding talent. And I think the one thing that a lot of Ravens fans should focus in on is basically what the Ravens do after the draft. As deep as this draft is, they're going to bring in a couple bodies that'll probably be able to come in and even start for this team.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, look, my side on the Redskins, they went out and got Trent Murphy, who's a defensive linebacker, rush end, after they just spent $12 million or so to keep Arakpo and signing an extension with Kerrigan, and they picked somebody because that was the best player they think was on the board at the time. And immediately, all of Redskin Nation howls, you didn't get an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
So they came back and got Morgan Moses, who probably played right tackle, and then a guard, and
there was
Spencer Long from Nebraska.
There was some disagreement a bit on Morgan Moses. Many people had him as maybe a late first, early second round pick. He slides in the draft. They talked about how he was, underwhelming, I guess I should say, at right tackle, and then they moved him to left tackle, and they actually had some success. Right. So with the Redskins, he's projected as their right tackle. I don't know if it's a footwork thing, if it's a mental thing. He's playing in the NFL now. He's a big body guy. If you get the right people with him, the right scheme, I think he'd be fine.
Well, we'll see what the Redskins scheme under the new coaching. I think it's hopefully it's more than just the RG3 show. And for the Ravens have to be successful. It can't just be the Joe Flacco show.
Yeah.
They've got to get the short passing game, the swing pass back, and they've got to be able to run the ball.
Well, the last pick we didn't get to, and it's interesting because I didn't know a ton about the kid, Crockett Gilmore out of Colorado State. I actually watched him play a couple times, and they were talking about it was the Ravens' last pick, tight end. So now you come into the season with 3 tight ends, Crockett Gilmore, Dennis Pitta, of course, who you can split out wide if need be, and Owen Daniels, who was on a 1-year deal. I said in the first 2 rounds I wanted to see the Ravens take a pass catcher, be it tight end, be it wide receiver. They found value elsewhere. And I think this is my opinion, because I always look at draft winners and losers afterwards, and you got some head of CBS, covers of football, or ESPN, Fox Sports, whoever it is, looking at it, and they go winners and losers. And what do? They typically pick out a few players that they liked in the draft, and if a team got them, they won. And then on the flip side, they look at all the needs and see, did you fill needs? In my opinion, you fill needs in free agency. You draft talent in the draft. You draft the best players possible, and if you hit on 3 or 4 of them, you're way ahead of the curve, because you never know what happens, whether an offensive lineman goes down. Do you have depth there? I was driving in and listening to somebody on national radio banging on the 49ers for taking another running back. Oh, they got 5 running backs. So what? There's value there. What if Marcus Lattimore's knee never comes back? What happens if Frank Gore all of a sudden hits that wall that we've seen running backs do when you get over 30? So now you have some depth there for a team that you need to run the ball. I like the fact that the Ravens, their MO has been a strong running game and playing good defense, stopping the run. And in my opinion, their first 3 picks, they've done a lot to help that defense get younger, and maybe they can have that window again with a really good defense.
Well, one of the things that when they do these grades is it's hard to grade special teams, and it's hard to grade in this scenario the salary cap. Is you bring in a bunch of rookies as just trying to find one guy to fill in a special team slot. You know how hard it is when it comes down to those final cuts, and that's the less expensive talent are these late round draft picks and the UFAs, the unrestricted free agents, unsigned free agents after the draft.
410-481-1300 if you want to call in, you got thoughts on the draft or anything else for that matter. But one last thing is you're talking about special teams. Trent Dilfer made a great point last night. Depending on whether you were watching NFL Network or ESPN coverage, I had a hard time finding the NFL Network again on my on Comcast or Xfinity, whatever we're calling it these days. And I flipped over. It was just easier for me to go from Masson to watch the Orioles to watching the Wizards play. So I'm just going up one channel, down one channel. So I stayed with the ESPN's broadcast most of the night. But they were talking about special teams, and it's a third of the game. We could sit here and say what we want about it. Oh, it's just special teams, this and that. But a lot of guys cut their teeth and have careers playing special teams. And if you go back a few years ago, the Ravens drafted Paul Kruger, right? Paul Kruger. He came in out of Utah, defensive end. They really liked him, and we've seen him. He got a huge deal from the Browns. I don't know how much people remember when he got here as a 2nd-round pick. He said, I can't play special teams. I don't get it. I've never played it in my life. And they basically said, we need you to play special teams. And he was out there, he was lost, and they couldn't do anything with him. And at one point they were wondering, well, what do we do? Because we have a roster spot for a guy that's not getting on the field a ton, and he can't help us in special teams. Now, they waited it out, and it worked out. But, I mean, that's just one of those, that's kind of a sidebar, because there are some guys that are going to be undrafted or drafted 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, where there's going to be a logjam, and they're going to have to make their way onto the team and produce at special teams. And then if something happens, someone's tired, someone's banged up for a week, then you get your opportunity, then you try to shine.
Absolutely. Speaking of flipping around, at 8 o'clock, when the ESPN national feed went to the Wizards, I sort of stuck with the Wizards. And now I'm wondering if I shouldn't have watched the draft more, because that was a absolutely brutal performance. Well, I don't know how much of it you saw.
Oh, I saw a lot of it, and I'm surprised I didn't fall asleep in the middle of the game. It was one of the lowest scoring games in post. They were flashing the stats about when the Bulls beat the Jazz, and the Jazz scored 58 points, and saying that was the lowest point total for an NBA team in the history of the playoffs. And I'm watching it going, I think they got a chance to get past that. But they showed a highlight of John Wall throwing an alley-oop. And it kind of got me. Well, it was a dunk, but it was one of their only baskets.
Oh, right. He threw an alley-oop to Beal.
To Beal, and he threw it down. And I'm going, all right, let's see what's going on. So I flip over. I see the highlight, and then I look at the score, and I go, good God, are we in the first quarter? What? And I knew this was going to be a defensive struggle. I thought a lot of people were banging on the Pacers. They're a good team. They just kind of had to find them. They need a confidence boost. They kind of needed a reality check, and all the off-the-court stuff with Roy Hibbert and They're trying to put that behind him. He's had 2 pretty good games now, but the Wizards actually in the first half, they got a lot of really good looks. They just didn't knock them down.
That's what I was just on Terp Talk. We were talking a bit of Wizards. Right inside the arc, Nene and Gortat make those 15 to 17-foot shots with regularity, better than they make free throws.
Mm-hmm.
Last night, it didn't happen. And they say, well, the Pacers' defense was great. Well, when you go, what was it, like 8 for 23 on 15-foot open jump shots, eventually, and it even happened last night, Pacers just hang back in the lane. They're not coming out to guard you. Then you cut to the basket, and Hibbert's standing there.
See, this is where it's easy to kind of go after the game and look at the stat sheet and say Pacers played good defense. And they did. They played good defense, but I thought in the first half the Wizards got a ton of good open looks. I'm not talking about shot clock winding down. I'm off 1 foot with a defender in my face, or I'm chucking up a 30-foot three-pointer because, again, the shot clock's winding down. But the Pacers do. They make you work that clock and try to find a good shot. The Wizards were finding good shots. It just weren't falling. It's just one of those nights.
Well, so I'm not ready to give up on the Wizards. On the other hand, I have a much different feel about this now. Now some of those thoughts of, hey, it was a great season, great job against the Bulls. One of the things about this Wizards team is I don't feel, even though I'm a DC guy, they're not my team. Now, part of that's because of how the NBA and college works now. You know, John Wall went to Kentucky. I saw him 3 or 4 times on national TV and saw some highlights, and he shows up and he's a Wizard. Beal, same thing with Florida. I wasn't really sure, and I follow college basketball pretty well. Wasn't really sure the guy was. A bunch of the other guys just came in recently, in the last year or two. So this isn't something I've been watching for 5 years, and these guys are making progress. Right now, it's something that's really entertaining. If they win, that's great. If they don't win, we'll try it again next year.
I think they're missing one key ingredient. And it doesn't matter what position, because I think you can win with the bigs they have. You talk about Gortat and Nene. I think you can win. They're hustle guys. They knock down the mid-range jump shot. They rebound well. It's that swing scorer, a guy that can play defense. And I don't want to say a Paul George type, because that guy's a superstar, but a Paul George type. People talk about Kevin Durant coming back home when his contract's up in OKC. I don't know if I see that happening, but yeah, as you said, anything's possible. Bradley Beal, they're calling him a young Ray Allen. I absolutely love John Wall's game. I've been saying it for 3 years. When he was first drafted, I said that's the right pick. You get yourself a guy that can make players around him better, although he's probably still a little bit more of a shoot-first guy than he is the Chris Paul type. But I like his overall game. But there's just, to get over the hump in the East, it either takes the top falling, where you see teams like the Pacers ascending, probably even the Bobcats, if you look down, and some of the other teams that have some nice young pieces. Toronto is kind of surprising everybody. The Heat need to, if you're going to get past them, you're going to need to go tit for tat with them. And the interesting thing is, I think the Wizards actually play them pretty well, but in a 7-game set, I don't think they have a shot.
I don't either. Yeah, the Wizards are missing a mid-size, a small forward to power forward superstar. And Nene's really good, but he's not new. He's
How much better would you be
old.
if he's coming off the bench and he's giving you minutes, Right.
Right.
I'm not trying to knock Nene. Nene's a solid player, but that's what I see. I just see one more player, and it doesn't.
Let's see, we thought of being now all of a sudden, hey, it's my Wizards. Not really. But you thought you were going to get a mid-sized defensive scoring sort of guy who could be the star when you spend the 3rd pick on the draft on Otto Porter Jr., and he doesn't get on the court. So is that another Ernie Grunfeld miss? Because they picked Jan Vesely, and that didn't work out. You got Singleton, that didn't work out. You brought in Nick Young, that didn't go so great. You paid a ton of money to Blotch, that didn't really work out. JaVale McGee, well, I don't know what planet he moved to.
I think he's still in Denver, isn't he?
He might be. Well, it's about
out there on Shaqtin' a Fool every night because he does something stupid. Yeah. I mean, Shaq's always banging on JaVale, and his mom's in the stands watching him play. I mean, he'll block you a couple shots, and then he'll throw the ball over the backboard.
If JaVale was playing around here in college, the chant would be your mother's better.
Yeah.
So, and that in a basketball sense, of course. So the hit or miss thing, it's just that Ernie got on a hot streak, and this group worked well. And yeah, it's a great team to watch. No, they're not going to win the championship this year. I thought they could beat the Pacers. It's still possible. The individual pieces are probably person for person better than the Pacers, only because the Pacers don't have a point guard.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be, and you can't, if 7'3" is playing well, as they say, you can't teach being 7'3".
No, you can't teach size. And, if I think for him, it was mainly mental. And I think the good news for Pacers fan, 2 games now, it looks like he's somewhat past it. So
yes, if there is a Pacer fan out there, please call us. What's the number again?
410-481-1300. That's the phone number to get in here on the Sports Maven. Got a lot of other things to go over, Wayne. And we'll come up in the next segment and get to that regarding NFL draft. I know you want to talk a little lacrosse. We got basketball. The Orioles are playing great baseball right now. A lot of good things going on.
There are. And this is Coons Ford Presents the Sports Maven. This is Wayne Viner and Jeremy Kahn. Bruce is away from the studio this morning. And before we go to break, in selecting a professional, you always look to the backgrounds of the persons involved, particularly involving their experience, competence, and established performance. In Maryland, there is one number one leader with regard to personal injury claims, and it's the firm of Science & Kirk, who also sponsors In the Nest that's on this airspace on Sunday mornings during the NFL season. Science & Kirk have handled more auto accident cases than any law firm in the history of the state of Maryland. The Science & Kirk family is on their 3rd generation of attorneys that extend all the way back to the 1920s. Donald and his 3 sons make a formidable team representing their clients. Call their hotline 24/7 at 1-800-LAWYERS. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1-800-LAWYERS for assistance.
Baltimore now has a 24-hour-a-day all-news radio station. Get traffic weekdays every 5 minutes and nights and weekends every 10 minutes. Plus weather every 4 minutes and the latest news around the clock. Preset your car radio to All News 99.1 WNEW. Baltimore now has a 24-hour-a-day all-news radio station. Get traffic weekdays every 5 minutes and nights and weekends every 10 minutes. Plus weather every 4 minutes and the latest news around the clock. Preset your car radio to All News 99.1 WNEW.
Vision Source of Linthicum and Dr. Stephen Polikoff offer the latest in vision care technology. New wavefront guided technology creates high-resolution eyeglass lenses. Vision Source of Linthicum announced it is now using wavefront technology to prescribe eyeglass lenses that enable the patient to see in high resolution without the surgery. Dr. Polikoff uses the Z-View Aberrometer, the latest in wavefront technology, to quickly and accurately map a patient's eyes for irregularities that can cause vision problems such as distortions, glare, and halo around lights. This exam produces an eye print. The eye print is like a fingerprint of the eye, and each person's is unique. The eyes-on lenses are then made based upon your personal eye print. Dr. Polikoff, located at 413 South Camp Mead Road in Linthicum, has been serving the community for over 30 years. The practice specializes in optimizing vision and has never seen a lens in all that time that has produced results like the eyes-on lens. Call 410-859-3111 to schedule an appointment.
Access Title Company, LLC, brings to you experience, relationship, and peace of mind. All great reasons to choose Access Title Company as your residential and commercial real estate settlement company. Choosing a reputable, experienced title company is crucial to a smooth settlement process. Our staff of attorneys and experienced personnel is committed to helping you through the complete process with personal attention, competitive rates, and prompt service. Access Title Company goes anywhere in the state of Maryland to perform your settlement at no additional cost to you. That's why we're Access Title. Please call Melanie, our operations manager, at 410-363-8785 for additional information. That's Access Title Company at 410-363-8785.
Kelly Exchange is your one-stop shop for individual and family health insurance coverage. On KellyExchange.com, you can learn about healthcare reform, find out if you qualify for a subsidy, get quotes, compare insurance plans, and purchase coverage. With over 36 years of experience in the insurance industry, KellyExchange.com is the only website you need to help you navigate the complexities and confusion of healthcare reform and purchase quality insurance for you and your family. Visit kellyexchange.com today. The newest of the 3 Bagby restaurants has just opened, and everyone is raving about Fleet Street Kitchen. Fleet Street Kitchen specializes in an organic menu, and all of its food comes locally or from nearby areas. The veggies are all from Cunningham Farms. Blake Smith and his dad, David, have created a magnificent trio of 3 adjacent restaurants. Bagby's Pizza's 1010, and now on 1012 Fleet Street, the Fleet Street Kitchen. Call 410-244-5830 for a reservation, and remember, there is free valet parking on weekends. Baltimore, listen up. If you want crabs, you have to head to the Costas Inn on North Point Boulevard. There is no comparison in all of Maryland for the greatest crabs and crab cakes ever. Costas also serves unbelievable steamed shrimp, Greek salads, and steaks for lunch and dinner. Nick, Pete, and Costas Triantopoulos run the perfect restaurant to go with family and friends. Give Costas Inn a call at 410-477-1975 and tell them that Turp Talk Guy sent you. This season, the 2013 champion Bayhawks and Lexus are giving away an ES350 to one lucky season ticket holder at the last game of the season. Every season ticket purchase will amount to one entry into the giveaway. 2014 season tickets are available and going fast. Call the box office at 866-99-HAWKS or visit us at www.thebayhawks.com to purchase your seats to all the action today. The season kicks off May 3rd at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. Don't miss out. When anyone in Northwest Baltimore talks about the best dry cleaners in town, one name surfaces, and that, of course, is Parsons. Michael and Mitchell have instituted the Parsonizing process for years now, and folks, let me tell you, no one does it better. Located at 1852 Reisterstown Road in Pikesville and 11,299 Owings Mills Boulevard, that's Parsonizing Cleaners. See the Parson Brothers.
Welcome back to Sports Maven, presented by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Now, once again, here's Bruce Posner, Sports Maven.
Good morning. This is segment 2 of Coons Ford Presents Sports Maven. This is Wayne Viner and Jeremy Kahn sitting in for Bruce. And boy, I tell you, one thing that's got me happy that summer's on the way is that the Orioles are back in first place where I think they belong. That's from somebody who's been watching the Orioles for a long time.
Yeah, they've been pitching great as of late. Ubaldo Jimenez, his last 2 starts. Granted, you'd probably like to see Ubaldo go a little bit deeper in the game at the last start, but you sweep the Rays. You get the first game against a series with Houston, which you need to take 2 or 3. A sweep would be fantastic. Today, it's Miguel Gonzalez on the mound, and I think his starts are getting more and more important because if he doesn't start going deeper into games and he's not efficient, we might see Zach Britton on the way. Buck was actually talking about having too many left-handers in the bullpen, and that's not necessarily a good thing. That you need to have a nice mix out there, 1 or 2 left-handers, a little bit better than having 4. But Britton's the type of guy, it doesn't matter who's hitting because if that sink's working, he's going to end up being a starter in this league again, in my opinion.
Okay.
But you got Gonzalez going up against Colin McHugh, a kid that came out of for Houston. He had like a 6-run ERA in the minors, comes out, has an unbelievable start against the Mariners, has a second start that has everybody believing, and his last start he got knocked around a bit. I want to say it was by the A's, but we'll see how it plays out today. You win today, you've already won the series, and you're looking for a sweep tomorrow.
And sweeps are good, but to go to Tampa and win in what's got to be the deadest place to watch a ball game, my goodness. And the Orioles never seem to do well there. And the other place is Toronto. I guess they have an aversion to AstroTurf.
Possibly. I mean, the Orioles are 5-0 against the Rays this year.
Yeah,
that's pretty incredible. They're in first place, and Chris Davis, I don't know if you heard the story yesterday. I was laughing because I was reading Rock Kabako of Masson Sports. He was reporting on it. Davis was taking BP, hit a home run on Utah Street, hit 2 into the bullpen, hit him in the left field bleachers, hit him out in the center, hit him on the flag court, and he walks over by the reporters, and he goes, still got it.
Yeah, I heard that was Dan Conley. I heard that from. So, yeah, he's coming back. What do you think Pierce, who the Orioles let go as an outfielder, comes back and I don't know if you remember Jim Traber or Larry Sheets or those guys.
Traber's doing a radio show in Oklahoma.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Is he still singing the national anthem?
I don't know if he's singing. I know he's still doing sports radio. He comes on with Rob and Vinny every once in a while.
He was a great story for the Orioles. To me, not to go back 30 years, but heck, now we're there. if he didn't play so well when he came up in sort of a Steve Pierce role when Eddie Murray got hurt, they probably would have kept Eddie Murray and he wouldn't have gone on to the Dodgers and it would have changed history.
Mm-hmm.
But Jim Traber comes up in 1980 something, hits really well, pulls a Steve Pierce, and they go, well, we can get rid of Eddie Murray. So I don't think anybody's having a thought of getting rid of Chris Davis because Steve Pierce is playing well. But do you think he stays on the roster once Davis comes back?
I got a weird feeling if he's still hitting, today, tomorrow. I mean, this is a guy that's hit 3 home runs this week.
Yeah.
And these have been close games. It's not like we've been blowing teams out. So you've needed that offense in your lineup, and he's not a terrible first baseman. He can play everywhere pretty much. I mean, I don't know that you're putting him on the left side of the infield, but you have an opportunity to get him in DH. That's a hard thing to say because how do you take a guy out of the lineup that's hitting? How do you punish him for playing good baseball when you need him to?
Well, maybe you can ask Steve Lombardozzi that because he's a guy who's at 298 and they sent him down. Well, We're starting to stockpile guys. If something goes wrong,
you're in a good position.
Guys.
Well, and in September call-ups too, if they continue to play well. But as far as you look at Pierce, many people are saying, okay, Pierce is gone when he comes back. But you kind of have a log jam there. Buck likes Flaherty a lot more than most fans, right?
Yeah,
Flaherty doesn't hit a ton.
Yeah.
But he can play second, third, outfield in a pinch. Yeah. If something goes wrong, he can play first.
Are the Orioles feeling better about David Lowe? Because he was a little iffy at the bat.
Well, some people had said maybe Lowe gets sent down.
So that's almost a guy who went from starter to being sent down. It's interesting to have positive problems.
But if you send Lowe down too, you're missing a left-handed bat in the lineup that you like to have, and I don't think particularly they want Nelson Cruz playing the outfield every day. They like to DH him a couple times a week. I don't think he's horrible in the outfield. He's just not. David Lowe to me is special as far as tracking balls in left field, and you have some speed late in games if you need it. If you need a pinch runner, you put Lowe on.
So do you think Tommy Hunter is going to hold on to this closing job?
He loves to make it interesting.
He did a little bit last night.
Yeah, Tommy Hunter likes to work without a net. He wants to walk that high wire act, and he doesn't want the net below. And he gets the wibble and the wobble. Oh, he's going this way, he's going that way. Last night, leadoff double, and then a walk and steals third. I don't know what order it was. Stole third, walk. So now you're first and third, no outs. And I don't want to say fortunate because he threw the pitch, but he got a double play ball. Gets him out of it, and then he gets the next guy out. So he strikes out George Springer, their young prospect. But he hasn't had a clean inning the entire year.
No.
Not a 1-2-3. And the interesting thing is the only 1-2-3 inning that he had a chance at having was the save he blew when Colby Rasmus hits a 1-2 home. It was 0-2. Technically, he strikes out. The ump says he didn't go around. Okay, he gets another pitch. What's he do? He puts it over the center field wall. And then the game's tied and the Orioles win in extras.
Right. So, but keeping Johnson certainly wasn't the answer because he's somewhere buried on the bench in Oakland. So,
they're now giving him some opportunities. He got a save and a doubleheader on Thursday, I believe. So they're slowly, it's baby steps to work him back in the closer's role. But he had a game where, he gave up 4 unearned runs. There was an error, but still, it's typical Jim Johnson where he's getting to a lot of 3-2 counts, and 3-2, can you throw your sinker? You got to put something over the plate. You start dipping in it before you know, if you're throwing it out of the strike zone, they're walking.
Yep, that's where he got in trouble here.
Mm-hmm.
So the Orioles have close out with the Astros, and then the schedule picks up again.
Tigers are coming in. You got a lot of good teams that they're going to be facing some more interleague play coming up as well. Typically, the American League teams struggle in the National League and vice versa. I don't know. I'm looking at this Oriole team. Chris Davis could come back for the Tigers series. Machado's back now. Now you're back at full strength. Think about what the lineup could look like, especially if Chris Davis hits like we know he can.
Right, and he wasn't doing that really before he got hurt.
No, but even when he's not hitting, he still provides protection. And the one thing, even last night against Scott Feldman was through 4 innings and threw 48 pitches. He was very efficient for a guy that was probably on a pitch count coming off the DL. Luckily, a couple of the hits that the Orioles did get were home runs, so the game was close throughout.
Right, and Feldman spent all of 2.5 months here last year.
Got himself a $30 million deal. Not bad.
Work for him. Yeah. I'll tell you that.
He made some money off it, but in the American League East, Toronto beat Philadelphia 10-0 the other night, and then they won another game. They were the only team after that 10-0 win because of that with a positive run differential in the American League East. Every other team was under. I think the Orioles are now at a positive run differential, but that's because they won 4 straight.
Well, looking across the baseball landscape, Miami tied for first place in the NL East. Milwaukee on fire.
They're playing the Yankees. They lost to Tanaka last night, but nobody's beat Tanaka yet. Today they're throwing Kyle Loesch against CeCe Sabathia. And I love some of the great storylines. Remember, Sabathia spent like 8 weeks in Milwaukee when he was traded. They went to the postseason, and then they tried to pitch him every other day, and of course they lost to the Phillies. But kind of returning home, if you want to call it that, and getting a chance to pitch against his former team. You mentioned Miami, who has the best home record in baseball. They were their best pitcher and one of the best young pitchers in baseball, Jose Fernandez, was shellacked last night. 2 home runs from Jed Giorco for the Padres, including a grand slam. So he gave up 6 runs. And interesting enough, the Padres are probably the worst hitting team in baseball, and they get to arguably the best young pitcher in baseball last night and beat them. I think it was like 10-1 or something, or 9-1.
Do you think the race for who's really better between Trout, Machado, and Harper is going to materialize into this 20-year race to see if they're all going to the Hall of Fame or not? Do you think they're really that good?
Coming in, don't you think that most pundits before Trout turned into what the sabermetricians and the stat geeks all love because he does everything so well, everybody thought Bryce Harper was going to be the second coming. Look at this guy. He's in Las Vegas. He's hitting 550-foot home runs out in the desert. Oh, what's that? He's 14 years old. This is insane. And of the 3, he's probably been the most disappointing, right? And disappointing is a strong word because he's still been pretty good.
He's been pretty good, but of course,
when you have expectations, you have to live up to them.
Yeah, and the expectations still, I think, are through the roof for him, and part of it, he expects to be that good. It's not just some of these are everybody else talking, and it puts pressure on a kid who doesn't have the personality. You look at a Strasburg, who's an introverted guy. You never hear a peep out of him, and he's making a lot of money, but it's the outside pressure. Bryce Harper's he's his own PR machine. So is almost is too close. A baseball version of this Johnny Manziel thing. He wants to be the cover guy.
It's a pretty good comparison when you talk about the two, because if we talk about the 3 guys here real quick, I think Machado and Harper had more expectations than Trout when you look at where they were drafted. Trout kind of bursts on the scene, hits for average, hits for power, can run, can field, can throw, steals bases. I mean, it's crazy when you think of all the things he does. But Machado's defense, and I think his doubles will eventually turn into home runs. I think he has a chance. They called Miguel Cabrera young Manny Ramirez when he's coming up. Now you're seeing you look at the numbers, and hell, Miguel Cabrera may eventually be better than Manny Ramirez. Yeah. He might even right now if you're considering it. I'm very interested because when you look at all these star players, Machado plays defense better than all of them. I got a platinum glove last year, for crying out loud. So,
well, he's a guy who makes defense exciting, and because he's good, not because it's a problem. He is spectacular, and hope the bats come back. Well, as we roll on here with the Sports Maven, Coons Ford presents the Sports Maven. This is Wayne Viner and Jeremy Kahn sitting in for Bruce today. I want to bring up the Press Box presents the second Thursday of the month event at Padonia Station Restaurant, the $14.99 brunch buffet. And the next noted guest is Johnny Holiday, coming in on May the 12th.
It should be good.
It should be. Hey, Johnny's the voice of Maryland sports, and I know that you had you've worked with him on the post-game side?
I've done some stuff. Yeah, I did pre and post for the Terps, Gravis's last year. Pretty exciting all the way down to the wire with that crazy shot that was it Corey Lucius hit against him.
Oh, that was a hard. Please don't bring that up.
I was so superstitious. I left to go to a Royal Farms around the corner to get something to drink, came back, and they made a run while I was in my car.
Yeah.
So I sat in the car out front, and as soon as I got out of the car, Lucius hits the shot because I had to run in and get ready for the show. So it's just it was a good time. It was a lot of fun, and Johnny's just baseball, football. He's got some of the greatest stories,
and he does the post game and pregame, I think, for the Nats. Yep. So Press Box presents second Thursday of the month event at Padonia Station Restaurant, the $14.99 brunch buffet. And on the notes here, Johnny Holiday coming in on May the 12th. This is Wayne Viner and Jeremy Kahn sitting in for Bruce Posner on Coons Ford presents the Sports Maven on 1300 CBS Sports Radio in Baltimore.
There's no better place in Baltimore to buy your new or used car from than Coons Ford on Security Boulevard, across from Security Mall. Over the years, I have purchased many cars and trucks for GM Dennis Colatzos, receiving the best price, service, and comfort in dealing with a top-notch executive. Coons Ford Turf Talk listeners can view their inventory at CoonsFordBaltimore.com. Coons Ford carries a huge inventory of Motor Trend's Car of the Year, the Fusion, Hybrid Escapes, the 35-mile-per-gallon Focus, Mustangs, Expeditions, and of course the F-Series trucks. Coons Ford simply likes to make a little bit of money many times. What a great place to buy your new Ford. That's Coons Ford of Baltimore, 6970 Security Boulevard, across from Security Square Mall. Take exit 17 off of 695. Remember, when you're talking cars, you're talking Coons.
Call 410-298-3800.
Your first choice for filling prescriptions in the Baltimore area should be the James Pharmacy, a Health Mart pharmacy. As a Health Mart pharmacy, the James Pharmacy has a personal commitment to its communities, is locally owned, and the pharmacists know there is nothing more important than your family's well-being. Located for the last century at 1117 Light Street in Federal Hill, the James Pharmacy is owned and operated by Avi Pelta, a University of Maryland pharmacy school graduate. Though located in Federal Hill, the James Pharmacy delivers at no charge to the entire Baltimore metro area. Outside of Baltimore, no problem. The James Pharmacy will UPS your prescriptions on a moment's notice. Open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 to 3. Call the James Pharmacy, a Health Mart pharmacy, at 410-752-5810. Remember, Health Mart, caring for you and about you. The Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center, whose goal is to provide the highest quality of care to our patients. We strive to apply leading-edge treatment strategies, including complex spine or brain surgery, interventional pain management, and physical therapy. The group is led by Dr. Ira Garanzik, who is joined by Dr. James Conway, Dr. H. Christopher Lawson, Dr. James Frazier in the field of neurological and spine surgery. Dr. Seth Kaufman specializes in interventional pain management. Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center is located at 5051 Greenspring Avenue. Call them for an appointment at 410-664-3680. That's 410-664-3680. I just discovered a great little neighborhood gourmet pizza and Italian-type restaurant in the Harbor area. Bagby Pizza on 1006 Fleet Street is just a great, fun place to have lunch or dinner 7 days a week. Bagby's features gourmet pizza, pastas, and salads at more than reasonable prices. Service is quick, there's plenty of seating, happy hour specials Monday through Friday, 4 to 7 p.m. But most important, the food is superb. Bagby Pizza, 410-605-0444. Turf Talk is proud to welcome Glen Burnie Transmissions as a new sponsor. Located at 7166 Ritchie Highway in Glen Burnie. For over 50 years, Glen Burnie Transmissions offers free towing from the D.C. area. Transmissions for all imports and domestics. Go to www.gbt-online.com for a quotation or call President Mark Schwartzman at 800-458-2661. That's 800-458-2661. Glen Burnie Transmissions. Mark Atman and Atman's Delicatessen have been serving Baltimore for over 81 years. It's just a fact that Atman's, open 7 days a week at 1019 East Lombard Street, has the best corned beef and deli in town. But now they've expanded into the catering side. Have a Lombard Street party or use Atman's for your condolence trays. Check it out on atmansdeli.com or call 410-563-2666 and ask for Elaine. I love Atman's Deli. Kelly Exchange is your one-stop shop for individual and family health insurance coverage. On kellyexchange.com, you can learn about healthcare reform, find out if you qualify for a subsidy, get quotes, compare insurance plans, and purchase coverage. With over 36 years of experience in the insurance industry, kellyexchange.com is the only website you need to help you navigate the complexities and confusion of healthcare reform and purchase quality insurance rewards for you and your family. Visit kellyexchange.com today.
May 31st, join 105.7 The Fan at the Taste of Three Cities food truck competition at M&T Bank Stadium. Tickets on sale now to benefit the United Way of Central Maryland. Sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
This is the Sports Maven Show, presented by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Now, here's the Maven himself, Bruce Posner.
Good morning. It's the third segment of Coons Ford Presents the Sports Maven. This is Wayne Viner and Jeremy Kahn. We're sitting in for Bruce, who's out of the studio today. You know, Science and Kirk's a great friend of this show, and of course they sponsor In the Nest. And you know, no one ever has to be injured. And when this situation is thrust upon you or a member of your family, you have a right and a duty to protect yourself and your family from financial harm. Science and Kirk will provide immediate assistance in getting medical care, securing lost wages, and advising on property damage and claim analysis. You can call Science and Kirk's free injury hotline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1-800-LAWYERS. That's 1-800-LAWYERS if you are injured and have a personal injury claim that you want to discuss with an attorney. You know, Bruce has known Donald for over 50 years, and there's no one better to represent you. Well, the other night, Saturday night, after Maryland beat Navy, Bruce and I and the Trip Talk gang went out to Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium to watch the Bayhawks take on the New York Lizards. And New York features what's probably my favorite player is not a Bayhawk, which is Rob Pennell. He went to Cornell. Anybody who watched Maryland lacrosse last year knows the Terps ran in that big red buzzsaw of Cornell. Pennell was fantastic with Cornell. He's the poster child for lacrosse now. Brian has him on posters in every lacrosse store in America. And even for somebody that doesn't follow lacrosse, I hate to put you on the spot. You ever heard of Rob Pennell?
No, I don't know that. I know the game against the Lizards because they won in overtime, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not familiar with Pennell.
Well, if you're looking for the next young superstar, though he's not that young, he took a couple years off. Rob Pennell with the Lizards, fantastically exciting lacrosse attackman. But yes, our Bayhawks, the championship Bayhawks, came from ahead. We had a lead.
Yeah, and
the lead dwindles down the stretch, and in overtime,
find a way to get it done.
Yep. Stephen Pizer, who went to Hopkins, scores in overtime. That video is up on the triptalk.com website. It's a great time out there. And if you're looking for something to do with the family, if you're looking for an event that you can afford to take your kids, the wife, the kids' friends, it's an affordable thing. It's exciting, and it's even faster than the college lacrosse. So we have
we have Dave Cottle on every Monday on our show, and from talking to him, he's got a lot of young guys, got a lot of young players that should be interesting to come out and watch.
It's interesting, it's fast, and they win. If you're looking for a hometown team to follow that's going to win something, it's the Bayhawks. And they have a lot of Maryland guys. But coming up on Saturday, May 17th at 7 o'clock, the 2013 MLL champion Chesapeake Bayhawks host Florida. Florida has some guys, local guys that you probably know if you're a big lacrosse fan. Joe Sanofsky, Casey Powell, Garrett Thule. It's a great place to take the family. Greatest lacrosse players in the world. They play right around here in Annapolis. Nice stadium, easy to get to. You can call the box office for tickets at 866-999-HAWKS. So with that, and the other lacrosse note, Maryland Cornell. It's a different Cornell team than last year. Maryland's ranked 7th in the NCAA tournament in the seeds. They got Cornell tonight, Bird Stadium, 5 o'clock. If you're looking for your lacrosse fix, that's a great place to have it. You were mentioning that Loyola
got the 3 seed. A lot of people were thinking maybe a little undervalued there.
Undervalued is a 3, probably. They were ranked very high all year. Duke gets the 1, Syracuse in the 2 seed. Maryland beat both. Duke and Syracuse didn't play Loyola this year, so from a Terps perspective, if Maryland wins and Syracuse wins, Maryland's going to play Syracuse next week in Hempstead, New York. And for Terps fans, that's a big one. Lacrosse is then we got to get another championship. That's channeling my inner Bruce Posner.
Yeah.
Got to get another NCAA championship for Maryland. But the draft, NFL draft, as we were talking earlier, eclipsed everything. And you got winners and losers there?
Yeah, well, I was following Will Brinson, who's a friend of the station. He comes on, he works for CBS. He did his winners and losers, and you got a lot of people after day 1, day 2. God forgives a lot of the writers out there when they start following 4 through 7 because they don't know who the heck they're talking about. They're just trusting what everybody else says if they don't watch the games. And even now, even some of the players that were drafted yesterday, you had some small school guys that I love it when I watch a guy start talking about him, and I know he's never seen him play because I've never seen some of those guys play. They're not, some of the writers out there aren't getting film. And, you know, as I'm looking at Will Brinson, and he listed his winners. I'll give you his 5 winners real quick and then kind of talk about them. He listed the Jacksonville Jaguars, Nick Foles, quarterback of the Eagles, because he got 2 new weapons, the Chicago Bears, the Oakland Raiders, and the Washington Redskins. Now.
Oh, can I argue?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely argue the Redskins. He's got them as a winner. Talking about that Trent Murphy, adding him gives them flexibility in the future with Orakpo and Ryan Kerrigan and depth at linebacker. Go ahead.
True, but it's not. It's the unnecessary. If that's the best player they had, I know all this draft stuff.
I thought he was drafted a little higher, yeah.
And that you really had a chance to replenish the offensive line for real. And if you pay a fortune, just like the Ravens have for Flacco, you pay a fortune of RG3 and you put all these offensive weapons around him and the offensive line's your weak point. Good God, man, fix that.
But here's my problem with a lot of the national pundits, especially guys that don't cover the draft. You know, Morgan Moses was listed as a possible back end of the first round pick.
Yeah.
And he'd been listed as that in a lot of mock drafts leading up. He falls to the 3rd round. Now, something tells me there's the reason why he fell to the 3rd round, that some of the draft pundits weren't right. Well, all of a sudden, because you've been seeing him in the 1st round, you're like, that's a steal, that's a steal, that's a steal. We will find out. The jury's still out on whether or not he will be a good tackle in this league. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if there are any thoughts about moving him inside, but you know, big body. Mm-hmm. It should be interesting to see what happens. But I had a buddy texting me yesterday saying, "Oh, the Ravens got to get Morgan Moses." Well, how do you know who Morgan Moses is? Do you know what school he goes to? Did you ever watch him play? I can't even tell you. I follow the draft as much as anybody does, and I don't know anything about offensive linemen. I can't tell you if they're going to be good offensive linemen on the next level. So I actually let the people that watch the film tell me how long a guy's arms are, how good his hips move, and everything else, how much drive they have in run blocking.
Right. So I watch ACC football. I've seen Morgan Moses play. He didn't jump off the page at me.
No, and then they showed him in a couple games this year against decent competition. I think Virginia Tech. He had a really good game against Virginia Tech, and that's kind of what everybody's basing their hopes, their projections of the positive side of it.
Well,
but
so did Maryland. You know, Maryland went down to Virginia Tech and beat them, so we should win the Big Ten then.
Here's my other thing. My other issue is, everybody's talking Jacksonville Jaguar. What a winner. They have never been a winner. They're drafting another quarterback 3rd overall. And everybody's like, well, Blake Bortles, right? They picked the guy 3rd, and you're talking about they passed on Khalil Mack, Sammy Watkins. This is one of the most talented drafts ever, and you're drafting a quarterback 3rd. If you really wanted that quarterback, couldn't you have drafted a playmaker there and then traded up from the 2nd round and given up a little bit more? We saw the quarterbacks fall in the draft. Maybe Tennessee takes Blake Bortles. If they're in love with him and he turns out to be the next Big Ben, God bless you. You're absolutely right. You got it right. I just don't see it. I don't see it from Blake Bortles. Now, he's going to have a chance to sit, and then they go, well, look, they drafted Allen Robinson out of Penn State and Marquise Lee, but they were supposed to be 1st-round picks. So the fact that they got him in the 2nd round, wow, what a great – why? I mean, Marquise Lee, you tell me the last receiver to come out of USC and have success in the league. Doesn't mean Marquise Lee won't have success or will have success, vice versa. But my point is, stop telling me all these teams are winners and losers just because you had a mock draft or you saw what Marquise Lee did in his sophomore campaign, because he did nothing last year.
Well, they didn't have a quarterback, and that's going to be part of the problem when you go to Jacksonville, is they're not the juggernaut offense. When USC was loaded with weapons, Marquise Lee looked great.
Yeah, well, and I think, look, and I do think Marquise Lee's going to be a good player, but they're making it seem like they just got a top 5 receiver or, you know, a top 5 pick. That's not the case. And Blake Bortles, if all goes well, he starts on the pine. He sits. They're like, they got Blake Bortles, and now they're surrounding him with weapons. What? Huh? I mean, have you seen – I'm looking at their running backs. They have no running game. Their offensive line is okay. And then defensively, they still need some help. I thought defensively they were better last year, but this is a team that has so many holes, and to go for the quarterback – and I just on a sidebar, because I'll get here and I'll ramble for hours on this. The Houston Texans had a chance to pick up Derek Carr, and they didn't want to pick up Derek Carr because they drafted David Carr.
Yep.
I got news for you. When you drafted David Carr, you put 5 trash cans in front of him and said block. He was sacked more times than any other quarterback in NFL history. It doesn't mean if his brother comes behind this offensive line and a great defense that he can't play. And I'm not saying I didn't like the Texans picks, but don't tell me you can't draft Carr because you drafted his brother.
Draft advice, according to the legend in Cleveland, a homeless man told the owner of the team to take Johnny Manziel, so he did.
I thought Scott had the best line of the day on that. He said, your homeless man tells Haslam to go out there and draft a quarterback. And Scott said that homeless guy was their head coach 5 years ago. I mean, they've changed coaches so many times. But just getting back to the draft.
Well, hold on. Before you get off of Jacksonville, they put a guy up there on the stage last night wearing a camouflage blazer.
Tuxedo,
it puts up there. He's played for Jacksonville for 13 years. He started every game.
Brad Meester, I believe. Yeah.
My kid said, you know who this guy is? I said, honestly, no. That's how the profile of Jacksonville is. They have a 13-year starter. And I follow the NFL pretty well. I couldn't remember the guy's name. They got rid of the only player I knew, which is Maurice Jones-Drew,
he's
who
now
went
with
to the Raiders, who's on the list as well.
Well, and that's another part of my problem for a team that's kind of solely survived on their running game and playing decent defense. They lose their running game, and who knows if somebody comes in and has success. They haven't drafted anybody yet.
They picked up Toby Gerhart. The last time he was famous, he was playing fullback for Stanford.
Yeah, that's not, no. I'm not buying into it. And people calling Jacksonville winners, let's talk in 3 years, because I'm not a big Blake Bortles guy. I don't think he's going to be the stud that everybody's expecting. Real quick, let's get to the losers here they listed. They listed Johnny Manziel as a loser because if you missed it, Josh Gordon gets busted for a positive drug test, believed to be marijuana. He's going to be likely be gone for a full year. That's what he's facing, is a year-long suspension. For Cleveland fans, you hope that's not true. They were talking about Nate Burleson, who last week in OTAs broke the same arm he broke when he was trying to stop a pizza from sliding off his dashboard, and he got in a car accident. But he'll be fine. He'll be back before.
Did he catch the pizza?
It may have flipped. You don't want the pizza hitting the top. Will Brinson lists Tom Brady as a loser because the Patriots drafted Jimmy Garoppolo. Are you serious? Tom Brady, when he says, I don't want to play quarterback anymore, that's when he loses his job. Not because they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo.
Is that Janine Garofalo's brother?
No, I think they're related. It's mind-boggling. Tom Brady's a loser?
So the guy had to write a column, and he didn't really have any good ideas.
Well, the idea of calling Tom Brady a loser is not because he thinks Jimmy Garoppolo is going to take his job, but they could have used that pick to help them out now. Whereas if you look at, and he's trying to compare him to Manning and the Broncos are taking out picks that'll help him now. The other losers, AFC South offenses, because Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt and Lewis Nix III. There's a reason why Lewis Nix fell to the third round. But those guys on the defensive line, teams are going to bulk up. They're going to find ways. It's not like, I think J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney are going to be fantastic together. Mm-hmm. But it's not like they're coming in and they're both going to end up with 20 sacks. It's just not going to happen. My opinion.
No, I think they're going to be better than the horrendous record they had last year. Do you think Schaub's done? He went to the Raiders as well.
I think the Raiders did get Derek Carr. I think the good news for Schaub is, he's going to have some time to prove that he can throw, and they'll let Derek Carr, kind of get into a pro-style offense.
So Matt McGloin, which I think is his name, the guy who was at Penn State, started quite a few games for the Raiders last year. They thought they had something there. I guess they're off of that.
Yeah, they're done with it.
Where'd Pryor end up?
Pryor's in Seattle. They traded him to Seattle. So he gets a fresh start there to ride the pine behind. It might not be the worst thing in the world behind Russell Wilson to be a backup quarterback in this league, hold a clipboard and, cash checks that are 6-7 figures.
Well,
right?
We were talking last week as Earl Morrall passed away. That used to be a good job to be a backup quarterback in the NFL. You had Don Strock, you had Earl Morrall. There's guys that you knew that were the backups. Well, this has been a great hour. I'd like to thank Jeremy.
That went by so quick, didn't it?
Yeah, it flew by. I'd like to thank Jeremy Kahn for sitting in. Next time we can talk Terps a little bit. This is Wayne Viner for Bruce Posner, who's out of the studio today. You have been listening to Coons Ford Presents the Sports Maven on 1300 CBS Sports Radio this Saturday and every Saturday at 9 a.m.
There are 3 new reasons to become a member of the Maryland Zoo with 12 tiny paws. Spend a whole year getting close to the new lion cubs, new giraffes, and a herd of other new additions, including a brand new penguin exhibit opening this fall. Enjoy 12 months of unlimited zoo visits and a gaggle of discounts, like 25% off all guest passes. Have a wild year for less than the cost of 2 visits. Become a member today at marylandzoo.org/join. See lion cubs and so much more this spring as a member of the Maryland Zoo.
When you need insurance, whether it's personal or for your business, there's only one company in the Baltimore area that you should deal with, and that's Mayer & Steinberg and its owner, Paul Robinson. Mayer & Steinberg is a 55-year-old insurance agency, family-owned and operated. We specialize in property, liability, workers' compensation, and auto insurance for the following industries: painting, plumbing, HVAC, electrical and paving contractors, door and window installers, landscape contractors, shopping center owners, furniture installers, and hotels, motels. Since Mayer & Steinberg provides coverage through some 30 carriers like the Travelers, the Hartford, CNA, and Zurich, we can shop your current insurance coverages and in many instances save you premium and better your existing coverages. Remember, call Paul Robinson at Mayer & Steinberg, 410-484-7000. That's 410-484-7000.
There's no better place in Baltimore to buy your new or used car than Coons Ford on Security Boulevard, across from Security Mall. Let's talk Coons pre-owned certified used cars. All of our listeners can buy with confidence. Coons Ford of Baltimore has an exclusive 7-day exchange policy. If for any reason whatsoever customers want to exchange a vehicle within 7 days, no problem. Coons Ford simply likes to make a little bit of money many times. That is why they take a lot of time to make sure we have the lowest priced pre-owned vehicles on the web. When our listeners go to our website, CoonsBaltimoreFord.com, they will see all of the outstanding values we have to offer. That's Coons Ford of Baltimore, 6970 Security Boulevard, across from Security Square Mall. Remember, when you're talking cars, you're talking Coons.
Call 410-298-3800.
Dr. Gaber and Associates is more than an internal medicine practice. Both offices are completely equipped with physical therapy services run by an experienced staff of registered physical therapists, Elliot Weiner, Mark Smearman, and Ken Miller. They treat arthritis, sports, auto or work injuries, post-op conditions, and more. After an initial evaluation, a treatment program is individualized and can include modalities such as neuromuscular re-education, ultrasound, muscle stimulation, traction, work conditioning, and balance training. Don't forget it's flu season, and flu shots are now recommended for all age groups, including healthy, low-risk persons. And there's more. Dr. Gaber's practice does not have the dreaded voicemail. You will always talk to a friendly staff member. So if you are in need of a private physician, call 410-986-4400 for Dr. Gaber's office at 341 Calvert Street, and 410-653-8840 for the office at 1838 Green Tree Road in Pikesville. Easy parking at both locations. The therapy office is open Saturdays 9 to 1, and Dr. Gaber accepts nearly all insurances.
Viner Consulting helps you make more money for your business. Call them for IT and business help. Everything Viner does points you toward more success. Everyone has a guy, and Viner Consulting is that guy for help with accounting and inventory systems, marketing, website, or cloud services. And Viner is that guy for your computer network and internet needs. Wayne Viner is my guy for making the Terp Talk website go and making my business better. Call Wayne Viner to be that guy for your business. 301-251-2900 or on the web at makeyourcompanywork.com. That's makeyourcompanywork.com. Viner Consulting, 301-251-2900. The Bagby Restaurant Group presents 1010. That's 1010 Restaurant on 1010 Fleet Street, 410-244-6867. This is Southern style cooking. It's a great atmosphere, a great bar, great Sunday brunches, and I want to tell you, the food is off the charts. Blake Smith and his family really know how to present food in a restaurant. It is super, just like Bagby's Pizza is. That's 1010 Restaurant on 1010 Fleet Street, 410-244-6867. Cunningham's part of the Bagby chain, the newest restaurant in town at One Olympic Place in Towson. Free valet parking, open every night. The food there is fantastic. I've been there. Decor, the whole atmosphere at Cunningham's is super. I highly, highly recommend it. But of course, when it's part of the Bagby chain and the Smith family, you know it's going to be a success. 410-339-7730. That's Cunningham's at One Olympic Place in Towson.
The opinions expressed in the preceding paid program do not necessarily represent those of WJZ AM 1300, CBS Radio, its employees and sponsors. CBS Sports Radio 1300 is WJZ AM Baltimore, WJZ FM HD3, Catonsville, Baltimore. Online at cbsbaltimore.com.